The learning objective of this lesson is that you will be able to find any of the 6 trig functions without the aid of a right triangle. So let's talk about what a reference angle is. A reference angle means figure out where the original angle is on paper, and then you're going to reflect it so that it's in the acute angle stage, which acute means less than 90, so it has to be in quadrant 1. And then we're going to go from there. So let's just first, before we start doing anything else, let's just talk about what a reference angle is for 140. So we're going to draw that picture. Starts here. 140 means it's going to be somewhere over here, right? Alright, well let's talk about this. If from here to here is 140, then what is this extra distance from here to here? Well, that would have to be 40 because together they add up to 180. Now a reference angle means I need to take this here, which is my terminal side, and I need to reflect it over into the first quadrant. Okay, so it's going to go somewhere like here. Well, when I'm asking for the reference angle, I'm asking from standard position. So from here up to here, what's the degree measurement? Well, these here are called congruent because of reflection. So my reference angle would be 40 degrees. So your reference angle has a reflection of the first one if you're going left to right, but it has to be in the first quadrant. Alright, well let's look at this. Well, some of you are going to, because you're not familiar with radians yet, some of you are going to want to transform this into degrees. So we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. That way the pi's will cancel. Negative 3/4 times 180 is negative 135. So we're going to draw a 135 degree angle, but negative direction means going downward. So there's 90. 135 is somewhere around here. Okay? Well, what is the extra bit from here to here? Remember that together, these two together add up to 180. So 180 minus 135, there's an extra 45 right there. But I need to take this terminal side and I need to get it up into the first quadrant. So over here, when we went from second quadrant into first quadrant, we reflected sideways. When it's in the third quadrant, trying to get up to the first quadrant, we just extend the line. So whatever this is, I'm just going to extend it up. And then remember, these are vertical angles from geometry. Diagonally, they're the same angle measurement. So it means that these are the same. So if this here is 45 here, then this would be 45 degrees here. So the reference angle would be 45 degrees, or because they gave this to me in radian form, what's the radian form of that? Pi over 4. You got to get to know that unit circle. Now, once you understand how to get your reference angle, what are we going to do about using the reference angle? So you're going to first draw the original picture, then get the reference angle, and then we're going to figure out the trig function. Now, if you don't want to do this, or you could just memorize the entire unit circle. Alright, so let's talk about 150 degrees negative. 150 means I go this way. 150, that's 90. So I have to go an extra 60 degrees. And again, that's just mental math there. So if together that's 150, and both of these little squares together would be 180, that means that there's an extra amount of 30 degrees here. Now, do you know what the coordinate is right now? Have you memorized that? Maybe, maybe not. So that's why we want to know reference angles. So we're going to extend this line up. So if this here is 30 degrees, these are called vertical angles. That up here needs to be 30 degrees. Okay, now this coordinate you should know. This coordinate is the square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. Alright, what's the cosine here? Well, the cosine here is the first one. So the cosine of 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. Well, let's talk about the cosine of negative 150. What would that coordinate be over here? What is this coordinate right here? Would it be a positive of the same thing, or would it be a negative of the same thing? Well, because I went left, it would be a negative. And so that's my final answer. All right, let's talk about this one. The sine of 225. So let's draw 225. That's 90, 180, 225 is over here. So how do I go from the third quadrant to the first? I just extend the line. But again, we need to know some distance here, right? So from here to here is 225, but what is the extra amount from here to here? 45. That means from here to here was an extra 45. These here are called vertical angles. So my reference angle is 45 degrees. So the coordinate here, sine means this one right here. What's that coordinate? Well, that's the square root of 2 over 2. I know this from my unit circle. But I asked for the sine of 225. So down here, what would be this coordinate? Well, I know it's going to be square root of 2 over 2. I just don't know if it should be positive or negative. It should be negative because I'm down below. All right, let's try a little bit more intense one. Secant. Well, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So we'll deal with that later. Let's just draw this angle. 240. That's 180. Okay, so from 180 to 240, how much extra do I have to go? Total is 240, but here's 180, right? So an extra what? So from here to here is 60. That means from here to here is 30. Now I'm going to extend my line up. Okay, vertical angles here. That means that this is 60 degrees. So my reference angle is 60 degrees. At 60 degrees, what's the coordinate? Okay, now I asked for secant, but before I can find secant, I got to figure out cosine. So which one of these is cosine? So it means the cosine of 60 degrees is that first coordinate, 1/2. I want secant. Secant is the reciprocal, so flip this upside down. 2. Now you got to ask yourself, okay, we're really down here though in this third quadrant. Is this first number here a positive or a negative? It's a negative, so secant of 240 is actually going to be negative 2. All right, let's just draw 240 degrees again. That's 240. From here to here was 60. And from here to here is 30. Extend it up. Reference angle is 60 degrees. The coordinate is 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. So I asked for cotangent. Well, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is sine over cosine. So cotangent would be cosine over sine. So I look at here and bring it down here. In the third quadrant, both those numbers are negative. So to give me the cosine is the first number divided by the second number. And remember we talked about this, really what you're supposed to be doing is multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator. But because these denominators are the actual same, we can just kind of cross those out. That only works that way. Reduce. And then we have to rationalize. Which will give me square root of 3 over 3. Woo! That was a tough one.